Script or budget? What should someone think of first when producing a film?
Karen, I love your questions. I really do. The business side of me says budget, but you can't ever deny script. Script is, here's what I say to filmmakers. I say, you got to be cognizant of how much you spend because there's only so much you can make back. But if you want to make money with a movie, don't make a bad movie. Like, there's no point in doing something that's not going to entertain an audience. If it's a piece of crap, then if you're doing it because you want to practice, fine. But if you're doing it because you really want to try to give yourself a shot, don't do a bad movie. Because a bad movie can't sell. It's just so, you can't compromise on script for the sake of budget. But there's a range, you see? Script is not just here, it's a range. It could be, this is good enough, this is fantastic. So maybe you hopefully end up in the middle or somewhere here. But at some point you have to say, okay, I can't afford all the things I want in here because my budget won't allow me all these explosions or gunshots or, in the case of an action movie, all the stuff you want to stick in here. But I have enough story here where I'm prepared to go at this level and I feel like I can make a good, solid, entertaining movie. In the case of budget though, you see, if you want to make your money back, there are certain realities to the marketplace that there's certain levels where it's tried and true that you're only going to make a certain amount back on certain levels of movies. Like for instance, if you're not using A-level talent, you're just using no-name talent, it peaks out at a certain level. Unless, I'm not talking about the anomalies, the home runs that come out of left field that nobody expects it, okay? I'm talking about the regular everyday movies, all right? For the most part, you're only going to get back, say, this amount of money for a budget at this level. Like you make $1 million movie, chances are the highest prospect you have is $1.5 million out there. If you think that's $1.5 million is what I can really get, once you start creeping that budget up to $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, $5 million, or go over that, even if you are super successful, the market won't bear anything more than that. Therefore, you're putting yourself in a predicament where you probably won't make money where you could have made money if you stuck to that $1 million budget. Now, then it becomes script. Like, you're a filmmaker, there's the integrity. I need that one extra explosion. I need that one extra big scene, to make this movie more epic and maybe win an award or something like that. And maybe it does make the movie better, but I'm not sure it increases the revenue on the back end until you get into sort of the next category of film. So I tend to lean, budget is always the controlling factor because I don't want to lose money. But script is a very, very, they're related, right? What can you do? It's basically, the question always is, here's how much money realistically you have to spend, either because that's what investors gave you or you don't want to spend more because that's what you can earn back. What can I do in this story for that amount of money? Will I feel compromised that I couldn't do enough? Don't make that movie then.
Let me see if I understand this. So if I have a film and I know that the budget is $1 million, great, stay at that level because there's a chance I can recoup my investors' money and make a profit. But if I start to move the needle and do a few more things here, and we're going up now $200,000, now I'm putting that money at risk. There's a chance that that's not going to be a safe investment. But if I had what would be the next higher step?
So,
2 million?
Yeah, it's categories. So first of all, and again, it's not a perfect science. It's just based on my experience, right? So a classic filmmaker will say, like, let's use $1 million, right? You're making an action film for $1 million, all right? You really want $2 million because you want to add in all these other big, special effects and stuff like that, but you don't have it. The distributor says $1.5 million is the realistic place the revenue that we're going to get for this movie. So try to keep it there. Once you start spending that extra, here's what a filmmaker says, but if I spend an extra $200,000, I put that big scene in, that big explosion scene, then you're going to get $2 million for the movie, not 1.5. And the distributor says, maybe. We know we're going to get 1.5. We might get 2, but if we don't, you've just eaten up $200,000 worth of profit, of your profit. So do you want to take that chance? And then the filmmaker says, yeah, because I know what's going to happen. And the distributor says, well, we've sold 500 movies like this and it's only happened for one. What are, you're sure you want to roll the dice on that, because it's a very, very risky decision. So I tend to be super pragmatic, and I say it's not worth the business side of it. But let's just talk about budget for a second, right? There's so many ways to make a budget, all right? Let's talk about 3 classic ways to make a budget. This is the crazy part about it. Like I keep saying, okay, $1 million, because it's a round number, right? So how do you get to $1 million? I mean, the classic way that's taught in film school, and that most filmmakers use and studios use, this is the classic way. You take the script, you break it down, you schedule it, you break it down into shooting days, all your elements, your locations, your actors, all that kind of stuff. You do a script breakdown, right? And from that, you see what it's going to cost, you budget all the elements, and then you come up with a number. And let's say that number is $1.2 million by somebody doing it the proper way, by doing it that way. That's what I call front-end budgeting, all right? $1.2 million is the number. Right? Now, there's some wiggle room here or there, you're going to use this car that blow up or something else or whatever. There's a few things that, come into play, but $1.2 million is your number, right? Then here's another way to do it. You say that realistically, your uncle left you $1 million, and that's the only amount of money you're going to have to spend. Nobody else is going to ever give you another dime. You have $1 million to spend. But you just got a budget for $1.2 million. Does that mean you don't make the movie? Or does it mean that your financial resources are $1 million, so you figure out how to cut out $200,000, and now your budget's $1 million? So that's what I call back end. You have $1 million, now you want to just make as good a movie as you can for $1 million. Do you do it? Like, that's the question, right? Then the third way is what I was talking about before, which is the market, the people who do the marketing say the most you could possibly sell this for is, $1.3 million. So don't spend more than $1 million, because we're going to need some 300,000 of wiggle room or something like that if you want to be financially successful, which you do. So now you go with the market, and they say you can't spend more than that. That's what you have to make this movie for in order to be successful. Which one do you go with? You're a filmmaker. Which one do you go with? The first way at $1.2 million is, where are you going to get the money from? Like, is somebody going to actually finance it? The second way, somebody said, I got $1 million, you spend $1 million, make a good movie, we're good to go. The third way is, you're being super fiscal, it's being led by the market conditions. That's a business decision. Can you make a movie that has artistic merit within that range? So these things all factor into this realistically, if you want to get a movie made. Now, there's a lot of filmmakers who say to me, this is my script, this is the breakdown, this is the number. It's $1.7 million, and there's no wiggle room. That's the number. And I say, wonderful. You're probably going to lose money on the movie. You may never get it financed, but hopefully you will, and you'll make a great movie, and that's fantastic. But you hear the stories of people who spend 10, 15, 20 years of their life chasing that dream. Now, on the flip side of that, you're making an action film, and it requires $1 million to do it properly, and people say, no, and I'm going to do it for $100,000. And I say, that's great, do it for practice, because I don't care how good a filmmaker you are, the chances of you making the production value style of what needs to be $1 million for $100,000 is extremely low. Yes, people have done it. Yes, I know all the examples, the El Mariachis and the Blair Witches, and I know all of them. They're anomalies. They're 1 out of 50,000 or 100,000. Don't make a business decision based on those people winning the lottery. Like, everybody talks about the people who won the lottery. Nobody talks about the hundreds of millions of people who didn't win the lottery. So it depends what business decision you want to make. That was a long answer for that question.
How many filmmakers accept that?
All studio filmmakers accept it because they have to, because they're responsible to deliver a bottom line. And a very small sector of indie filmmakers accept that. I mean, they're forced to accept it, because if they actually want to make something, there's only a certain amount of money that they have access to. So I'd say, if you want to talk about compromise in the indie film market, most people are making stuff and for budgets well below what they really should make it for. And then it comes out badly, not because they're not good filmmakers. They're actually really good filmmakers, but they didn't have the resources to make the film properly. So it comes out badly, and then that becomes sort of their calling card, and they made a bad film, and then it's, in some ways, almost a negative. It's as crazy as this sounds. It's almost better to make those films and not put your name on it. Just do it because you need to practice and hone your skills, but don't put your name on it because it's not necessarily your best foot forward to get money for your next film. I know that sounds nuts, but...
No, I've heard other authors say, just accept that your first book will not probably won't be a bestseller, probably won't do anything substantial. And I think it's just like reconciling that with yourself and knowing, okay, I'm probably not going to be this anomaly. I'm not going to, I know I want to be, but I'm going to accept the fact that I can still do this, but my first one is not going to be this great success.
Yeah, but the beauty of the film business, this is what is so attractive for the film, is it's this dream, this glamour, this glory. I mean, it's so infectious. People dream of that anomaly. I call it the Hollywood dream, that you can be the anomaly. You can be that one crazy breakthrough hit. And not every business has that. This business does offer that. And that's what all indie filmmakers have, that dream. And some of them get to live it. Not many, but some do.
Sure, and then there's just something satisfying about being in a theater, renting it out, seeing it with an audience, having a Q&A, having an after party, if you're able to afford that, and being okay with that.
Yeah, it's funny, what you just described, being in an audience, renting out a theater, having a party, all that kind of stuff, that's good the first time around. The second time around, the only thing the first time around, you're in heaven. You're listening to the audience. The movie opens and they clap and there's a Q&A and it's greatest experience, right? The second time around, all you're thinking about is how much that theater costs you, how much the hors d'oeuvres cost you, how much people are drinking, what the bill at the end of the day is going to be. Even though you enjoyed the movie and you enjoyed that, but after a while it becomes like, can I afford this?
So the party's fun the first time, and then the second, third, and beyond, it stops being about.
The party's always fun, because parties are fun. And you're celebrating a work of art that you just created. You're having a baby, like you just brought a new baby into the world, and that's a celebration. So the party's always fun, don't get me wrong. I enjoy every party, and I have a party for every film, because I want to celebrate it. That's the celebration. It's not the business, though. Some people think it's the business. Some people think going to a film festival and sitting through a big screening and everybody doing the Q&A and everything like that, that's a party. And it's a nice party. It's a nice celebration, and sometimes it's the only celebration you get. For me, the celebration is getting a really big check from a streaming company because I sold the movie, and then seeing it on, the first time you see it on a streamer, like on Netflix or something like that, that's a party. That's a real party. I mean, that to me is, for me, sitting in my, family room with my family and watching it the first time it comes onto a streaming company and knowing that I got paid for it, that to me is a celebration. Now, the other stuff is really fun and I enjoy it. And don't get me wrong, I like a good party like everybody else.